Alrighty, guys, back with the second part of the video. In the first one, what I did is I talked about how we have these two different strategies that we can use to break down these questions and how I've put those on this page for you. Now, what I want to do is to really make it clear the two separate strategies that we're going to be using to answer this question, right? So the first one I talked about in the last video was using this DWBB box, right? Now, for that box, when you go through this prompt, you're looking for what the prompt is asking you to do specifically, and then what evidence you're going to use to be able to prove that, right? So last video I said, okay, it tells you to give, so give goes here. What is it asking you to give? It's asking you to give a quick summary, so that would go down here, right? And then you'd be looking in your story for evidence that says because, right? And you'd put that in bullet point format down here. Okay, so that's the DWBB strategy of things. You would go through, you'd say, okay, what's telling me to give something? It's telling me to maybe tell what I think it ends with or why it ends with that, right? So I would use those kind of words, those action words that we talked about, to write down what is the article asking, or the prompt, excuse me, what is it asking us to do, right? Do what? And then it's going to have us look for evidence in the article and put that in bullet points down here. So if I want to give a quick summary, right, I would be looking for things in the article that are important that I could use as my evidence, right? So if I'm flipping back in that article and I see that it talks about how at the end of the third quarter, 24 points were added to the number of points scored by the leading team to honor Bryant, I might think, oh, you know what? Well, that's something pretty important to my summary. So under where it says bullet points, I might make a bullet point right here and say 24 points added for Bryant, right, for Kobe. So maybe that might be something that I would put in there as my evidence. Okay. The other strategy that I talked about using is circling the question words. Okay. And I kind of mix that in with the other strategy because for me, I've been doing this a long time. It just makes sense. But since this is something I just talked to you guys about and just taught you not that long ago, it might not come right away. So when I'm asking you to circle the question words, again, the biggest question words that we talked about are what, how, and why, right? So in this prompt, I'm going to be looking, right, having like a laser focus here on which of those words are showing up, right? Which of those words are showing up? So I might say, okay, well, let's look and see here. So we see a what here, but is it really asking us a question? Not really. It's saying, give a summary on what this is about, but it's not really asking me a question, but I'm keeping an eye out for that what anyway, right? Because what would be asking for three things. Sorry, it's hard to write on this thing. Three things. Now, the next question word I see here is how. So I'm going to be looking for three ways, like I talked about in the last video. Three ways that the All-Star game is different from a regular NBA game. So I'm going to be searching the article for three ways that it might be different, right? Then it says this article ends with the result of the game, even though most sports articles would start with the score. I don't really see any question words in there, and I don't see a question mark. So I don't really see it asking me anything. So I don't really have to look for question words there. But then let's look in this last sentence. It says, why do you think this article ends with it? Again, why is looking for three reasons. Da, da, da. Three reasons, okay? So right away, or already in these two videos, I've showed you guys those two strategies, right? Strategy number one is looking for the words that are asking us to do something like give, right? So that would go in the do box, okay? And then we talked about how to put evidence in here, right? Evidence being any clues or information that we found in our story that can help us prove our point. Then I talked about the second strategy, which is where you look for the question words and you write down what are they asking of us, right? So three things, three ways, three reasons. Now, you're going to answer this on another sheet of paper, right? Notebook paper. You're using complete sentences just like you would for a do now.